What's going on, guys? This is Misplay, and today I'm actually going to be doing a pretty special video. 5 huge misplays that can literally screw you over completely and your whole career, whatever you want to call it. And it really all starts with a card like Torrential Tribute, right? You read it and you're like, what can go wrong with Torrential Tribute? When a monsters is summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. I don't get it. It doesn't really look like it has any flaws, right? It's kind of a simple card to use. Well, trust me, there are a lot of ways to actually play around Torrential Tribute, which is kind of dangerous, and you're going to see this right now with, for example, Sky Striker as our opponent. So right now, my opponent is going Kagari, trying to recycle back engage, skillfully excavating 3 Widow Anchors from the top of the deck with Area 0. I'm going to just Veiler the engage, Kagari, which is basically Veilering the engage anyways at this point. Shark Cannon is going to revive back the Veiler, so I'm actually kind of screwing myself over more, if anything. And now my opponent is going Needle Fiber, summon another Veiler from the deck. I could really be using Torrential Tribute right now on the Needle Fiber or on the summon of Veiler if I really wanted to. You know, what if I was kind of like in a mindset of, nah, I'm gonna wait until my opponent goes into Selene, because what happens if my opponent has another Shark Cannon, tries to steal another Veiler, and then has something else like another way of making a Link 2? Then my opponent can still make Selene. I only have 5,000 life points. I did pay with other cards or something before, so maybe this is a grind game. Obviously, with the game state that you can currently see, it's not necessarily, but this is hypothetical. But anyways, now my opponent is going to summon the Selene, and unfortunately, if I don't Torrential the Selene right now, I'm actually going to be a little screwed, because my opponent, when he's trying to summon the other Veiler, I won't be necessarily able to Torrential on that Veiler. So let's just say my opponent goes for Widow Anchor, Chain Link 1 on his own Selene, and then chains Selene to revive back Veiler. Look at this, the Veiler is summoned on Chain Link 2, and Torrential Tribute practically acts as a card that misses timing, like the optional when effect, which is kind of funny because it doesn't necessarily say you can, but it's kind of implied in the fact that it's a trap card. Torrential Tribute and Bottomless Trap Pool, whatever, these kind of cards, they really do function exactly just like the Yang Zing monsters. When the condition isn't applied for the card to activate in the first place, it was in Chain Link 2 or higher, for example, it wasn't the last thing to happen. This is the really important thing here. It's not going to be able to activate itself. So you won't be able to use it on the summon of Veiler, like I said, because the Widow Anchor on Chain Link 1 is really screwing it over. It makes it so it is no longer the Veiler summon is no longer this last thing to happen, so you can't just Torrential an activation of Widow Anchor. That makes no sense. And the Access Code Talker also cog blocks you as well, because on the summon of Access Code, the first thing Access Code tries to do is target a Link monster in literally anywhere from either player's graveyard or even the banished, I think, and tries to gain attack equal to its Link rating multiplied by 1,000, and neither player can respond. So Torrential, it just loses its window of activation. So I just showed you 2 things: Torrential Tribute missing timing, and Torrential Tribute no longer having a window of activation to respond. And now the Torrential is just going to get destroyed because of Access Code, attack directly, and you are dead. Now there are so many ways to fix this problem, well, this misplay. All you really have to do is either try to Torrential on the summon of Needle Fiber, well, the summon of Veiler preferably, because the summon of Needle Fiber, the Veiler is still going to be summoned, so you're kind of just giving 1 free monster to your opponent. Or you could actually do it on the effect of Selene that tries to gain the spell counters, because Selene doesn't have the effect yet, even if it was able to use the effect to get a monster from the graveyard, because whatever, you had 3 spell counters somewhere else on the field, it still does have to summon on a zone it points to. So if the effect of Selene is chained to summon here, obviously it's going to be in Chain Link 2, which is higher than Torrential, so the monster is going to die literally right after, and it's not really going to be ideal for the opponent. Obviously your opponent still has a bunch of plays because of the multi-roll and Area 0, but that's only because your opponent sacked. But most importantly, you were able to survive and not die. Alright, this is the other misplay, and this is a misplay that I actually see a lot, so much, and this is honestly even something that I do personally quite often. Let's just say that you have a proactive spot removal. In case you don't know what proactive spot removal is, the definition is kind of like in the name. It's basically a trap card that can be used at any time, or just even a monster or a spell, whatever, that can remove like any card on the field, really. So Dragma Punishment, it's a proactive card. It's not like Mirror Force where you have to wait for a specific timing. So now you can literally just shotgun this on draw phase or standby phase, which is great for two reasons, especially against Dinosaur. Not only do you play around Misk, you actually play around Tactic Talents because this card can only be used during the main phase. But what happens if you try to hold it for main phase, so for too long? Obviously, your opponent can just activate Lightning Storm or Duster, whatever. Well, Lightning Storm not in this situation, but Duster, and you'll be forced to chain it. And obviously, when you do chain it, it might not have the desired impact because not only can your opponent at this point is on main phase, so can protect itself, and also on top of that, use the monster effect in the form of Entis without even realizing it. So even with 0 hand traps and a super trap heavy deck, you can still use monster effects during your opponent's main phase to trigger that Tactic Talents. Yeah, if you can use punishment on your opponent's draw phase or standby, that would already help you out quite a lot. Hey, look at this. Now I'm actually going to be using the punishment during the standby phase, and it's just gonna be Happy Land City because the conductor is gonna die, everything's dead, and the Tactic Talents is useless. So the timing of a card is extremely important, and I really hope that you're able to learn the lesson. Alright, this is one of the biggest misplays I ever see, like, it's ridiculous because so many people do it as well, which is honestly very sad. Let's just say you activate Prankit's Place, whatever, the field spell, and you get to search whatever because your opponent doesn't want to ash this. If you literally have any other Prankit monster, your opponent was going to die. What happens when you search a strong Prankit monster? You might think, oh, whatever, it doesn't really change that much when your opponent has a face-down monster. It really does change everything because there's actually a really good play that you can do here, and by searching a strong monster, you actually reducing your chances of winning. There's something even worse that you can do right now, which would be link summoning it right away, because as you can clearly see, the opponent has a face down monster and not a face up monster, so we can't just chain block with the field spell. So if we get ashed, we actually pass turn. We are losing to one hand trap literally by choice because we actually could have won in this instance. Now look at this. This is when we actually play better. We're searching Fancies, which has 0 attack. This is really, really powerful. The less attack you have, the better it is, because when our opponent has a face down monster, look at what we can do. We can normal summon it and then go into battle phase, attack, take damage, but what is really important is that the opponent now has a face up monster. So when we link summon for that Meow Meow, we no longer lose to Ash because we can go chain link 1 and then finally go chain link 2. This is really important. And again, nobody does that, ever. The important thing here wasn't even to try to destroy the Doofrog, but rather just make sure that your opponent has a monster that will allow you to chain block the place in order to ensure that your Prankit monster resolves, because now Ash no longer does something. Ash is only really good at the very beginning of your Prankit combo, and right after, it starts being really bad, especially when you can start chain blocking like crazy. Look at this, man. The opponent had the Ash for another monster, and it did nothing at all. We can go Battle Butler, chain 3 monsters, and this was thanks to us playing smart. By the way, I just want to mention that if you're destroying the Doofrog on Chainlink 2 or higher, the Doofrog's not going to be searching because it is an optional when effect, of course. I kind of explained missing the timing twice in one video, so even more content, that's better. Alright, this misplay is absolutely unacceptable, whatever. You're not allowed to make this misplay. It honestly really is the end of the world. So let's just say you have Alistair and Meltdown. Some people, what they might do is normal summon Alistair, search the invocation, and then make the Secure Gardna, and then whatever El Mirage, and then Secure Gardna, and then invocation right away, instead of using the Meltdown first, but then you're just randomly losing to Ghost Bell. Why would you do that when you can literally just use Meltdown right before using the invocation, playing around Ghost Bell? This is just so much better, right? I mean, there's just no reason not to do this play. Can't really say that Meltdown baits Ash. Alistair unfortunately does lose to Ash. It doesn't really bait the Ash, but you still have to go Alistair first to search the invocation. So if your opponent had Droll, instead of Meltdown getting Drolled, which is kind of rough because then the Alistair can't search, only the Alistair gets Drolled, and then if you use invocation after, even if you get Ghost Bell, it's not the end of the world because at least you're able to trade 1 for 2, whereas going Meltdown first, it really doesn't trade well at all. Now the Droll actually affects you quite hard. Yeah, if the Ghost Bell hits us while we have Meltdown on the field, it changes absolutely nothing. We have our negate, we have our Alistair, we're going to win. Okay, again, another absolutely unacceptable misplay that I see very, very, very often, especially with the beginner players using the Phantom Knight deck. The super pro players, they actually play around these kind of cards that I'm going to show you quite well, so you're going to see right now. let's just say I go normal summon Cloak and then summon Boots and then make Cherubini, and now I use the effect of Cherubini sending Graph, my opponent chains Gamma, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do anything about it, and my Cherubini is just going to die. Yeah, well, you actually could have played around it. Do you know how? Yeah, I'm going to show you literally in a couple of seconds, but now we're not in a really good position because all we have is a Seer and an emergency teleport. So when we use that E-Tele, we're going to summon a non-BA that's going to make Seer die. Yeah, sure, we can bring back Rusty Cherubini and make Rusty, but I mean, we could have done so much better, right? Absolutely, and I'm going to, like I said, show you right now. Okay, so first of all, when you use a card, or when you use a deck, whatever, one of the most important things is reading your own cards and making sure that sometimes you know how to use their other effects, because Cherubini, it's not just, oh, you can Foolish and that's it, that's all. No. It can protect your monsters that it points to by being destroyed by whatever card effect or something, so your Burning Abyss monsters can actually coexist with non-Burning Abyss monsters, but on top of that, Cherubini can actually protect itself just by sending another card you can to the graveyard when it's about to get destroyed. So right now my opponent chains Gamma, and obviously if I'm really stupid, I'm going to lose that at Gamma, but we have an IQ of 10 billion, so we're chaining emergency teleport, we're summoning a monster, and now it's the same chain, so we're just gonna be like, oh, protect, avoid from destruction by destroying that emergency teleport. The graph still resolves, you have access to absolutely everything, you can even make an Appaloosa right now, but if you didn't have a card like emergency teleport, don't worry, you can literally just set a Fog Blade, and then use the effect of Cherubini. Your opponent goes Gamma, you just send the Fog Blade, and that almost helps you because now you have a Fog Blade in the grave, which is like an extender. Read your cards, and again, I'm human too. This is a misplay that I'm going to be doing myself for the rest of my existence. Nobody's safe from, I don't know, the virus of not reading cards. I mean, we're Yu-Gi-Oh players at the end of the day, but that's pretty much it for this video. I really hope you guys were able to enjoy and learn as many things as possible, and if you did, make sure you leave a like, a comment, and a subscribe. All these things are super appreciated. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the support. I will see you guys next time. Peace.